So, let's see. Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. Yes. So exciting. How many times have I read this one? 8 times. I've read this one 8 times. About to be 9 times. Yeah, I'm really excited. I'm so excited to be starting Chamber of Secrets. Chamber of Secrets is a good one. They're all good. What am I talking about? But the thing is, what I'm most excited about is not that we finally made a Chamber of Secrets. I'm excited because we're this much closer to getting to Prisoner of Azkaban, which means we're this much closer to getting to Goblet of Fire, and then Order of the Phoenix, then Half-Blood Prince, then Deathly Hallows. I'm so excited because it only gets better. That's the way it goes with Harry Potter books. They only get better. They only get better. And I am just really excited. Really excited because this book is already like 10 times better than the first one. Already. So good. So good. So good. I don't know if it's anybody's favorite. I really like the film of this book a lot. I have a lot of fond memories with it. So it's a really good book. And the scenes that they cut out from the movie are really good, which means the book is really good. So because there's scenes in the book that aren't in the movie that are really good, is what I'm trying to say. So really, really exciting. I'll read, I don't remember if I read the summary for the first one. I'll read the summary for this one. Ever since Harry Potter had come home for the summer, the Dursleys had been so mean and hideous that all Harry wanted was to get back to the Hogwarts School for Witchcraft and Wizardry. But just as he's packing his bags, Harry receives a warning from a strange impish creature who says that if Harry returns to Hogwarts, disaster will strike. And strike it does, for in Harry's second year at Hogwarts, fresh torments and horrors arise, including an outrageously stuck-up new professor and a spirit who haunts the girls' bathroom. But then the real trouble begins. Someone is turning Hogwarts students to stone. Could it be Draco Malfoy, a more poisonous rival than ever? Could it possibly be Hagrid, whose mysterious past is finally told? Or could it be the one everyone at Hogwarts most suspects? Harry Potter himself? Yeah. Very, very cool. Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets by J.K. Rowling. Very, very good. Okay. I don't know if this book is anybody's favorite. I've never heard that this book be anybody's favorite. If it's your favorite, please let me know. When people say... When people say that, is the first book dedicated to anybody? When people say what their favorite book is, they usually say Prisoner of Azkaban, Goblet of Fire. Those are the ones I hear the most. Prisoner of Azkaban and Goblet of Fire. No one ever says Order of the Phoenix, though I love Order of the Phoenix. I've never heard anybody say Half-Blood Prince, although that is my personal favorite. And then usually if people say Deathly Hallows, I don't believe them, because I don't think Deathly Hallows is allowed to be anybody's favorite. Deathly Hallows is so... It's a book that, like, stands alone apart from the others. I feel like it doesn't count. You know? Like, it's so vastly different from the other books that it doesn't really count as a Harry Potter book. But anyway, not that it's not a good book. It's really good, and you're absolutely allowed to like it. I don't know anybody who doesn't like Deathly Hallows. I just don't think it can be your favorite, that's all. Oh, yeah. She dedicated it to her daughter, her mother, I think, and her sister. J.K. Rowling likes to dedicate her books. For Sean P. F. Harris, getaway driver and foul-weathered friend. I wonder if that was her friend growing up. I don't know. I could be wrong about that. I don't know who that is exactly. Anyway, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets by J.K. Rowling. Let's read chapter 1. I don't know if there's anything special to say about this. I feel like I had a lot of special things to say about the first book. I don't know. I don't have a whole lot of back knowledge on. I don't have a whole lot of background on this one. Anyway, Chapter 1, The Worst Birthday. Not for the first time, an argument had broken out over breakfast at number 4 Privet Drive. Mr. Vernon Dursley had been woken in the early hours of the morning by a loud hooting noise from his nephew Harry's room. Once again, we're back at the Dursleys. The beginning of a Harry Potter book is never interesting. It's always back with Muggles, and it's always like, oh, can we just skip to the part where at Hogwarts, please? Is there any Harry Potter book that starts really interesting? Order of the Phoenix. Order of the Phoenix has a pretty good start from the jump with the Dementors and Dudley, and that was good. Goblet of Fire's kind of good because the Weasleys come to get Harry. But they do here too, so. Again, not the first chapter. I think Order of the Phoenix might be the only Harry Potter book where things get interesting from chapter 1. Yeah. And like, Half-Blood Prince and Deathly Hallows don't start at the Dursleys, but they start in some boring backstory. The most boring chapter in Harry Potter history. Chapter 1 of Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. Most boring chapter ever. The other Prime Minister, it's about the Muggle Prime Minister, of all things. Yikes. It's not fun. But the chapter after that, The Unbreakable Vow, is really good. Anyway. So yeah, we have to get through the Dursleys in order to get to the good stuff. We'll get there. At least we're not with the Dursleys as much here as we are in the first one, because we get to go to the Weasleys partway through before going to Hogwarts. "Third time this week," he roared across the table. "If you can't control that owl, it'll have to go." Harry tried yet again to explain. "She's bored," he said, with his new, deep voice. When I first saw this movie as a kid, it's when I first realized that I was attracted to Daniel Radcliffe. I was 11, and he was 12, 13. And suddenly he had a really deep voice, and I was just like, what is this? Hello. But he said he all of a sudden has a deep voice. "She's used to flying around outside. If I could just let her out at night." "Do I look stupid?" snarled Uncle Vernon, a bit of fried egg dangling from his bushy mustache. "Yeah, you do." "I know what'll happen if that owl's let out." He exchanged dark looks with his wife, Petunia. Harry tried to argue back, but his words were drowned by a long, loud belch from the Dursley's son, Dudley. "I want more bacon." "Me too." I wrote that in my book. Me too. "There's more in the frying pan, sweetums," said Aunt Petunia, turning misty eyes on her massive son. "We must build you up while we've got the chance. I don't like the sound of that school food." "Nonsense, Petunia. I never went hungry when I was at Smeltings," said Uncle Vernon heartily. "Dursley gets enough, don't you, son?" "Dudley. Did I say Dursley by accident? Dudley gets enough, don't you, son?" Dudley, who was so large his bottom drooped over every side of the kitchen chair, grinned and turned to Harry. "Pass the frying pan." "You've forgotten the magic word," said Harry irritably. The effect of this simple sentence on the rest of the family was incredible. Dudley gasped and fell off his chair with a crash that shook the whole kitchen. Mrs. Dursley gave a little small scream, and clapped her hands to her mouth. Mr. Dursley jumped to his feet, veins throbbing in his temples. "I meant please," said Harry quickly. I didn't mean—" "What have I told you?" thundered his uncle, spraying spit over the table. "About saying the M word in our house?" "But how dare you threaten Dudley?" roared Uncle Vernon, pounding the table with his fist. I warned you. I will not tolerate mention of your abnormality under this roof. Harry stared from his purple-faced uncle to his pale-faced aunt, who was trying to heave Dudley to his feet. All right, said Harry. All right. Uncle Vernon sat back down, breathing like a winded rhinoceros and watching Harry closely out of the corners of his small, sharp eyes. Ever since Harry had come home for the summer holidays, Uncle Vernon had been treating him like a bomb that might go off at any moment, because Harry Potter wasn't a normal boy. As a matter of fact, he was as not normal as it is possible to be. Harry Potter was a wizard fresh from his first year at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, and if the Dursleys weren't happy to have him back for the holidays, it was nothing to how Harry felt. He missed Hogwarts so much, it was like having a constant stomachache. He missed the castle, with its secret passageways and ghosts, his classes, though perhaps not Snape, the potions master, the mail arriving by owl, eating banquets in the Great Hall, sleeping in his four-poster bed in the Tower Dormitory, visiting the gamekeeper Hagrid in his cabin next to the Forbidden Forest in the grounds, and especially Quidditch, the most popular sport in the wizarding world, 6 tall goalposts, 4 flying balls, and 14 players on broomsticks. Another super long sentence. That sentence was almost an entire paragraph. That paragraph, which is about this thick, only has 2 sentences. All Harry's spellbooks, his wand, robes, cauldron, and top-of-the-line Nimbus 2000 broomstick had been locked in a cupboard under the stairs by Uncle Vernon the instant Harry had come home. What did the Dursleys care if Harry lost his place on the house Quidditch team because he hadn't practiced all summer? Where would you practice? The neighbors would see you. What was it to the Dursleys if Harry went back to school without any of his homework done? The Dursleys were what wizards called muggles, not a drop of magical blood in their veins. And as far as they were concerned, having a wizard in the family was a matter of deepest shame. Uncle Vernon had even padlocked Harry's owl, Hedwig, inside her cage to stop her from carrying messages to anyone in the wizarding world. Harry looked nothing like the rest of the family. Uncle Vernon was large and necklaced with an enormous black mustache. Aunt Petunia was horse-faced and bony. Dudley was blonde, pink, and porky. Harry, on the other hand, was small and skinny, with brilliant green eyes and jet black hair that was always untidy. He wore round glasses, and on his forehead was a thin, lightning-shaped scar. It was this scar that made Harry so particularly unusual, even for a wizard. The scar was the only hint of Harry's very mysterious past, of the reason he had been left on the Dursleys' doorstep 11 years before. At the age of 1-year-old, Harry had somehow survived a curse from the greatest dark sorcerer of all time, Lord Voldemort, whose name most witches and wizards still feared to speak. Harry's parents had died in Voldemort's attack, but Harry had escaped with his lightning scar, and somehow, nobody understood why, Voldemort's powers had been destroyed the instant he had failed to kill Harry. So Harry had been brought up by his dead mother's sister and her husband. He had spent 10 years with the Dursleys, never understanding why he kept making odd things happen without meaning to, believing the Dursley story that he had got his scar in the car crash that had killed his parents. And then exactly a year ago, Hogwarts had written to Harry, and the whole story had come out. Harry had taken up his place at wizard school where he and his scar were famous. But now the school year was over, and he was back with the Dursleys for the summer, back to being treated like a dog that had rolled in something smelly. The Dursleys hadn't even remembered that today happened to be Harry's 12th birthday. Of course, his hopes hadn't been high. They'd never given him a real present, let alone a cake. But to ignore it completely... At that moment, Uncle Vernon cleared his throat importantly and said, "Now, as we all know, today is a very important day." Harry looked up, hardly daring to believe it. "This could well be the day I make the biggest deal of my career," said Uncle Vernon. Harry went back to his toast. Of course, he thought bitterly. Uncle Vernon was talking about the stupid dinner party. He'd been talking of nothing else for 2 weeks. Some rich builder and his wife were coming to dinner, and Uncle Vernon was hoping to get a huge order from him. Uncle Vernon's company made drills. "I think we should run through the schedule one more time," said Uncle Vernon. "We should all be in position at 8 o'clock. Petunia, you will be in the lounge," said Aunt Petunia promptly, "waiting to welcome them graciously to our home." Good, good. And Dudley, I'll be waiting to open the door. Dudley put on a foul, simpering smile. May I take your coats, Mr. and Mrs. Mason? They'll love him, cried Aunt Petunia rapturously. Excellent, Dudley, said Uncle Vernon. Then he rounded on Harry. And you? I'll be in my bedroom, making no noise and pretending I'm not there, said Harry tonelessly. Exactly, said Uncle Vernon nastily. I will lead them into the lounge, introduce you, Petunia, and pour them drinks. At 8:15, I'll announce dinner, said Aunt Petunia. And Dudley, you'll say, May I take you through to the dining room, Mrs. Mason? Said Dudley, offering his fat arm to an invisible woman. My perfect little gentleman, sniffed Aunt Petunia. And you, said Uncle Vernon viciously to Harry. I'll be in my room, making no noise and pretending I'm not there, said Harry dully. Precisely. Now, we shall aim to get in a few good compliments at dinner. Petunia, any ideas? Vernon tells me you're a wonderful golfer, Mr. Mason. Do tell me where you bought your dress, Mrs. Mason. Perfect. Dudley, how about we had to write an essay about our hero at school, Mr. Mason, and I wrote about you. What an odd thing to say to a stranger. This was too much for both Aunt Petunia and Harry. Aunt Petunia burst into tears and hugged her son, while Harry ducked under the table so they wouldn't see him laughing. And you, boy? Harry fought to keep his face straight as he emerged. I'll be in my room, making no noise and pretending I'm not there, he said. Too right you will, said Uncle Vernon forcefully. The Masons don't know anything about you, and it's going to stay that way. When dinner's over, you take Mrs. Mason back to the lounge for coffee, Petunia, and I'll bring the subject around to drills. With any luck, I'll have the deal signed and sealed before the news at 10. We'll be shopping for a vacation home in Majorca this time tomorrow. Harry couldn't feel too excited about this. He didn't think the Dursleys would like him any better in Majorca than they did on Privet Drive. Right. I'm off into town to pick up the dinner jackets for Dudley and me. And you, he snarled at Harry, you stay out of your aunt's way while she's cleaning. Harry left through the back door. It was a brilliant sunny day. He crossed the lawn, slumped down on the garden bench, and sang under his breath, Happy birthday to me, happy birthday to me. That's so sad. No cards, no presents, and he would be spending the evening pretending not to exist. He gazed miserably into the hedge. He had never felt so lonely. More than anything else at Hogwarts, more ever than playing Quidditch, Harry missed his best friends, Ron Weasley and Hermione Granger. They, however, didn't seem to be missing him at all. Neither of them had written to him all summer, even though Ron had said he was going to ask Harry to come and stay. Countless times Harry had been on the point of unlocking Hedwig's cage by magic and sending her to Ron and Hermione with a letter, but it wasn't worth the risk. Underage wizards weren't allowed to use magic outside of school. Harry hadn't told the Dursleys this. He knew it was only their terror that he might turn them all into dung beetles that stopped them from locking him in the cupboard under the stairs with his wand and broomstick. For the first couple of weeks back, Harry had enjoyed muttering nonsense words under his breath and watching Dudley tearing out of the room as fast as his fat legs would carry him. But the long silence from Ron and Hermione had made Harry feel so cut off from the magical world that even taunting Dudley had lost its appeal, and now Ron and Hermione had forgotten his birthday. I wrote some notes that I'm reading. What wouldn't he give now for a message from Hogwarts, from any witch or wizard? He'd almost be glad of a sight of his arch enemy, Draco Malfoy, just to be sure it hadn't all been a dream. And I just put that would be interesting. Fanfiction idea? Not that his whole year at Hogwarts had been fun. At the very end of last term, Harry had come face to face with none other than Lord Voldemort himself. Voldemort might be a ruin of his former self, but he was still terrifying, still cunning, still determined to regain power. Harry had slipped through Voldemort's clutches for a second time, but it had been a narrow escape, and even now, weeks later, Harry kept waking in the night, drenched in a cold sweat, wondering where Voldemort was now, remembering his livid face, his wide, mad eyes. Harry suddenly sat bolt upright on the garden bench. He had been staring absent-mindedly into the hedge, and the hedge was staring back. Two enormous green eyes had appeared among the leaves. Harry jumped to his feet, just as a jeering voice floated across the lawn. "I know what day it is," sang Dudley, waddling toward him. The huge eyes blinked and vanished. "What?" said Harry, not taking his eyes off the spot where they had been. "I know what day it is," Dudley repeated, coming right up to him. "Well done," said Harry. "So you finally learned the days of the week." "Today's your birthday," sneered Dudley. "How come you haven't got any cards? Haven't you got friends at that freak place?" "Better not let your mum hear you talking about my school," said Harry coolly. Dudley hitched up his trousers, which were slipping down his fat bottom. "Why are you staring at that hedge?" he said suspiciously. "I'm trying to decide what would be the best spell to set it on fire," said Harry. Dudley stumbled backward at once, a look of panic on his fat face. "You can't. Dad told you not to do magic. He said he'll chuck you out of the house. And you haven't got anywhere else to go. You haven't got any friends to take you." "Jiggery-pokery," said Harry in a fierce voice. "Hocus pocus, squiggly wiggly." Jiggery-pokery, they used that for a Potter Puppet Pals skit, I remember. "Jiggery-pokery." "Mom!" howled Dudley, tripping over his feet as he dashed back toward the house. "Mom! He's doing you-know-what!" Harry paid dearly for his moment of fun, as neither Dudley nor the hedge was in any way hurt. Aunt Petunia knew he hadn't really done magic, but he still had to duck as she aimed a heavy blow at his head with the soapy frying pan. Then she gave him work to do, with the promise he wouldn't eat again until he'd finished. Again, child abuse. Don't know how they get away with this. While Dudley lolled around watching and eating ice cream, Harry cleaned the windows, washed the car, mowed the lawn, trimmed the flower beds, pruned and watered the roses, and repainted the garden bench. Jeez. The sun blazed overhead, burning the back of his neck. Harry knew he shouldn't have risen to Dudley's bait, but Dudley had said the very thing Harry had been thinking himself. Maybe he didn't have any friends at Hogwarts. "Wish they could see famous Harry Potter now," he thought savagely as he spread manure on the flower beds, his back aching, sweat running down his face. It was 7:30 in the evening when at last, exhausted, he heard Aunt Petunia calling him. "Get in here and walk on the newspaper." Harry moved gladly into the shade of the gleaming kitchen. On top of the fridge stood tonight's pudding, a huge mound of whipped cream and sugared violets. A loin of roast pork was sizzling in the oven. "Eat, quickly, the Masons will be here soon," snapped Aunt Petunia, pointing to 2 slices of bread and a lump of cheese on the kitchen table. "Again, child abuse. That's not a meal." She was already wearing a salmon-pink cocktail dress. Harry washed his hands and bolted down his pitiful supper. The moment he had finished, Aunt Petunia whisked away his plate. "Upstairs! Hurry!" As he passed the door to the living room, Harry caught a glimpse of Uncle Vernon and Dudley in bow ties and dinner jackets. He had only just reached the upstairs landing when the doorbell rang and Uncle Vernon's furious face appeared at the foot of the stairs. "Remember, boy, one sound." Harry crossed to his bedroom on tiptoe, slipped inside, closed the door, and turned to collapse on his bed. The trouble was, there was already someone sitting on it. Who that is, we'll find out next time. We ran really late this time. I don't remember how late last time went, but the last few chapters of Harry Potter were really long. But yeah, that's it for chapter 1. We're going to meet Dobby next time. So join me next Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time right here on YouTube for chapters 2 and 3 of Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. And if you don't want to wait that long, join me tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll be playing Nancy Drew Sea of Darkness. We'll have a fun time. I won't have face cam because it's Sunday. I'll be in my pajamas, but we'll just come, hang out, play video games, have a good time. Yeah, and more uploads to come. And then join me Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for The Sims. I'll be playing my nifty knitting save file, probably. And then Friday, if I don't finish Nancy Drew tomorrow, I will probably finish it Friday. And then Saturday for Storytime Saturday number 10. Back here for more Chamber Secrets. Yeah. If you haven't already, hit that like button. Even if you're watching the video after the fact, leave a comment down below. Tell me what you think of the series. Did you enjoy my reading of Sorcerer's Stone? Are you excited for Chamber Secrets? Do you like this book? Is it your favorite? Do you hate it? Let me know. Leave a like on the video, and if you haven't already, click subscribe and click the notification bell so you can be notified the next time I go live and the next time I upload. Follow me on Twitter, and yeah, all that jazz. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you had a good time, and I hope you have a magical evening. Bye-bye.